How's it going, guys? It's James here, and welcome to a video on a topic that's been going around the news lately. So, for those of you that don't know, let me just preface this. YouTube is not my full-time job. My actual job is I work as a doctor in a hospital in Nottingham. So I've been following the coronavirus, as you can see from the thumbnail and the title. I've been following this coronavirus topic for a while now, but it's developed to a point now where it's kind of unavoidable. It's been registered as a global pandemic by the World Health Organization. We're treating it as such. It's quite serious at the moment. And I just kind of wanted to, I put out a tweet the other day asking you guys, for some questions that you guys might have, and just, give my thoughts on it and how it's affected my life and my work so far. So one of the first questions people are asking was, how does it work? And it's a tricky one because we can assume how it works, but we don't actually know for sure. And the reason I say that is it's most likely transferred through the respiratory system, so just breathing or coughing and sneezing. And just the water droplets from that which contain the virus are probably how it's transmitted, or the main way it's transmitted. But that's not to say that there aren't other ways that it can be transferred as well. I think there was a study done earlier today on a city in Italy where they tested all the 3,000 inhabitants, and they found that actually 50 to 75% of the confirmed cases of COVID-19 actually were asymptomatic, to say they didn't have any symptoms, they didn't feel ill at all. So half the cases could be walking around carrying the virus and with the potential to transmit it to other people, but won't necessarily be feeling the effects themselves. And that kind of brings me on to the next point. So another question is, how deadly is it? People are very worried about it, and rightly so, but I'll go into it a little bit in a bit of detail in a second. People are worried about it in terms of how deadly is it, how likely am I to die if I get it? And also, what are the risk factors that can increase the chance of me dying if I get it? So this information is changing day by day. We're talking about the case fatality rate for the time being, which is the number of confirmed cases we have, and then how many people of those confirmed cases have died. And currently, or from the 15th of March 2020, the data shows that it's around 3.7%, which is much, much, much higher than, for example, the US seasonal flu, which is sitting around, I think it was 0.1% or even less than that. I can't remember the exact figures. It's in the, it'll be in the links down description. All the information I'm putting, I'll cite it. I'll put it down there because obviously I don't want you to try and misinform you guys. I'd love for you guys to try and go educate yourselves as well. But it's much, much worse. But there are many problems with this number. So this is the problem with the news and stuff, with the spreading of statistics and facts and things. This is a fact. The case fatality rate is 3.7%. However, it probably is inflated because there are a lot of cases which aren't being tested for reasons people aren't feeling unwell. So like the asymptomatic people we spoke about earlier, they're not feeling unwell. Why would they go get tested, right? And then there's a case of there aren't enough testing kits. The testing systems are all very new. Some countries just don't have the facilities to do the testing at all, like the third world countries and the developing countries. Or even the US. The US, you'd think of as a first world country developing, should have advanced healthcare, but they're really struggling to roll out the number of testing kits required to really be gathering the research and the data necessary to sort of move forward with this. We don't know the total number of cases. We only know the number of confirmed cases. So these are people who have been tested and confirmed COVID-19 positive. There could be hundreds of thousands of more people that have it but haven't been tested. And so we don't know whether they're positive or not. They may be positive, they may be negative, and we just don't know. So this number is a case fatality rate, but don't read too much into it. So it is worse than the seasonal flu, but we obviously have a lot less data on it at the moment. What we can do is, though, compare it to some of the other cases in the past. So one of the more recent coronaviruses in recent memory is SARS. So that's also spread from Asia, and it was a coronavirus as well. And it worked in a similar vein in the sense that it attacked the respiratory system. But in the 8 months that was spreading, it garnered over 8,000 cases, 8,098 cases in total, and 774 people died. So that is around like almost a 10%, just under 10% case fatality rate, right? 8,098 cases, 774 deaths, which is much, much worse than you'd think than the 3.7% of the COVID-19. But the problem with COVID-19 is it's spreading much, much more rapidly and much, much easier. In the 2 months since it started in November, it's had over 82,000 cases in China. And obviously that number is still growing today. It's going to be growing even higher today, tomorrow, the day after. And it's becoming a problem which the governments are having to tackle. Another one of the questions that was asked was, what do I think of the UK's approach to lockdown, etc., and other countries and things? And it is a problem. I'm personally not thinking, I don't think we're doing enough in the UK to really lock down like we've been suggested. This is conjecture at this point, right? I don't have the facts for this, but yesterday the Prime Minister Boris Johnson made an announcement saying, okay, advice is to stop all non-essential travel. Don't go to the pubs, clubs, theatres, bars, etc. But he's only advised to do that. He's not put a ban on it. There's been some speculation that this might be to stop the pubs and the things claiming insurance, which would obviously hurt the economy, much like the American economy is absolutely tanking at the moment. But that's speculation. I don't really know anything about that side of things and the economics and things. But we're still keeping schools open. Universities are closing. One of my housemates is at uni, and they've stopped all face-to-face lectures. They're moving to online classes. I know in America they're doing that. They're moving to online classes instead of face-to-face to try and include it in the social distancing, I think is the term they use. It's bizarre, right? So no mass gatherings, no football matches. Football's cancelled. No sporting events. Euros has been delayed. No pubs, no theatres, but schools are still open, and there's loads of kids and loads of parents, and it doesn't really make sense to me. And it's one of those situations where the number of fatalities in the UK, as well as the number of cases, confirmed cases, is going up every day. Still, it's not slowing down. It's still exponentially increasing. It's doubling every few days or so. And this is one of those problems where we really should have done this a long time ago. We really should have. It sounds silly. It's very easy to be reactionary about this thing. You go, oh, we've hit 100 cases. Now let's lock down. But really, we should have locked down as soon as Italy locked down, because we haven't prohibited travel across other countries. So we're going to have COVID-19 cases. We did have 2 confirmed cases a long, long time ago. And it's going to get to a point soon where if we don't act faster and more efficiently, it's going to be too late, and it's just going to spread. Because people aren't going to listen anyway. There's been loads of cases already. There's one in Japan of a man who's COVID-19 positive, and he intentionally went to bars to try and spread the disease. People are cucked. It's down to the society as a whole to try and prevent this together. And we'll talk about the comorbidities and stuff and what makes you more likely to die from it as well, because it's tied in quite closely. From the data from China up to February the 11th, 2020, there's a graph on the website down below, and it says that the most likely contributing factor to fatality, is cardiovascular disease, so just problems with your heart problems. If you might have heart failure or something like that. And the second one is diabetes, actually. So diabetics are very usually have a weaker immune system and react more poorly to pneumonias and infections and things. But if you have no underlying health conditions, then you have a 0.9%, according to the data, chance of dying. So the problem here is most people under the age of 60, let's say, are usually fit and well, don't have underlying health conditions. The majority of the people that have died from COVID-19 have had underlying health conditions, but that's not to say that just because you're young, you're immune. It's kind of interesting to see where it's all going with the COVID. And basically, the bottom line of that is the elderly are the most at risk, because they're the ones that have lived long enough to develop these health problems, underlying health problems, whether it's breathing problems or heart problems or cancer or diabetes or whatever. They're more likely to have them just because they're older, right? They've lived longer. And so they're more at risk than we are. And I think in England, the at-risk people have been recommended to self-isolate for 12 weeks. I believe it is, which is a very long time. But, it's for the health of themselves and it's for their safety. So it's understandable for the length of time, because even if you don't have any symptoms, you can't say for sure, unless you've been tested, that you don't have the virus. And the incubation period can be anywhere between, I think it's like 5 days to, it can be up to 14 days. So that's why the recommended period of time is like 14 days for self-isolation, to make sure you don't spread it to anyone else. But it's all up in the air at the moment. There's a lot of data coming in. There's a lot of things being changed. So it's a very difficult topic to really talk about with any certainty, because everything's changing all the time. Another thing to mention for the case fatality rate we mentioned earlier, it's 3.7% now. It might be less because of there being not enough confirmed cases compared to the actual total. It might be more because people who've got it at the moment, who haven't died yet but will die from it, haven't been counted yet, right? So there's so much stuff to talk about. So my general advice is to not read into the statistics too much. Use them as guidance. Try and educate yourselves as much as possible, and primarily try and exercise social distancing as much as possible. I know it's difficult. Try to, especially from the elderly, like if you've got any grandparents, try not to meet up with them whilst you're, while they're in this period of time. Let them self-isolate. The symptoms and stuff, I think the main symptoms are fever is the main one. So 90% of all the patients from the study had fever, and then coughing was the second most at about 70%, I think. Again, that graph is in the link down below. So if you haven't got a fever, you're unlikely to have it. But if you have any coughing or any new onset coughing, which like lasts for a considerable amount of time, like it's just best to play it safe rather than risk spreading it to other people. It's going to be down to all of us to work together on this to try and slow it down as much as possible. I don't know, some of you may have heard of the term flattening the curve. Let me get my whiteboard out actually. So some of you may have heard the term flattening the curve. So if I choose this mock graph, so on this side we've got the total number of cases, and the bottom line we've got the time. This is the line symbolizing the maximum capacity of the healthcare system of whatever country, right? It's not really relevant. So if we let it just go rampant, that is what the curve will look like. It will just spike, it will keep going exponentially, we'll reach the maximum capacity. These people will all receive suboptimal healthcare. Some of them will die because of it, some of them will become seriously injured because of it, and then eventually as the patients die out and the cases dwindle again, or we get immunity as a society, the cases will drop down again back to normal. But if we can exercise social distancing and try and minimize the contact and slow down the spread, even if the total number stays the same, what we can ideally do is spread the curve out over a longer period of time. So the total number of cases will be the same, but we flattened the curve so that the healthcare system can still keep up with the number of cases we've got. Because worst case scenario is it spikes too fast, we can't look after everyone, and people just die. And there's nothing we can do about it because we don't have the space, we don't have the equipment, and we don't have the capacity as a country or as a global society to accommodate for it. So that's one of the main reasons that we want to try and do this. Even if I know there's been some tests of the coronavirus vaccine. Again, there's problems with that because you've got a vaccine which may work, but then you've got to actually produce the vaccine, and then there's logistics behind it. It's not like as soon as you've created the vaccine, it's not like in a video game, you've created it and suddenly it's cured. You've got to distribute it to people, and it has to be distributed globally and manufactured, etc., and tested properly, and you don't know the side effects because you've not gone to extensive testing. So there's a lot of problems about it. The best way currently to combat the spread of COVID-19 is just wash your hands. Using sanitizer is good, but if you use too much sanitizer, so what happens is, if you use sanitizer once, it's pretty effective for the alcohol-based, 70% alcohol-based sanitizers. If you keep using it over and over again without washing your hands in between, what ends up happening is you don't actually have any alcohol on your hands, you're just coating alcohol gel on top of itself, and then it becomes less effective. So make sure you wash your hands with warm water and soap very frequently. Scrub properly, wash every bit of your hands, because there's a lot of creases and stuff where things can hide. Make sure you wash up to your wrists as well. Try and avoid social contact or too much close physical contact if possible, and exercise social distancing, especially with the elderly and the older members of society. In terms of panic buying stuff, there's another thing that I want to talk about. I mean, I kind of understand. I didn't understand it before with the toilet roll stuff. I still don't get that. I don't know why people are so incessant on buying bundles and bundles of toilet roll. Like, it's not going anywhere, right? Like, I don't know if anyone can explain to me why people wanted to buy so much toilet roll. The flu does not make you go to the toilet. It doesn't give you diarrhea. I don't know why. But yeah, so that's the main advice I can give you guys for now. I might post some further updates on this in the future as things come out. And I might do another video on it, to be honest, because I've been talking for a fair amount of time already. But I hope you guys found this useful. If you've got any more questions, put them in the comments below. I'll try and answer them in the comments. If there's too many of them, I might just post another video in a few days' time addressing some more of the situations, just because it is a topic that's quite pertinent to a lot of you guys, and I know you guys will be interested to hear about it. And I kind of want to try and give you guys as much of an informed opinion as I can, rather than, because sometimes the news likes to just put stats out which grab attention and are not necessarily representative of reality. They want to get views, right? They want to get clicks, and they're not necessarily trying to give you all the correct information. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, put some comments down below, ask some questions. I'll try my best to answer them when I can. I'm going to be on night shifts again for this week, so I'm going to be a bit sleepy, a bit busy, but we'll see how it goes. Hope to see you again.